What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hops Geek News, a podcast that talks about comic books, movies, TV shows, and typically we feature Beer of the Week. Despite if you're watching on YouTube, what it says behind me, there is no Beer of the Week. I'm drinking water this morning. It's 10 a.m. I am honestly probably going to have some beers for football later, but I went out to a brewery yesterday, and again, it's 10 a.m. Like, my kids see me pulling beers out the fridge this early, like call CPS or something, right? But
pretty sure you had a beer and we recorded at 9:30 the other day.
Yeah, the kids were out of the house. So like, shut up. Anyways, today's episode, we have another creator interview. Steve Urena, who is one of our longtime friends, one of the very first, indie comic book creators to come on our show like 3 years ago now, is back once more. And we are going to talk about his latest comic book, Foulmouth, the superhero who gets her powers from cursing. And before we get to that, if this is your first time, go ahead, Hops Geek News, any podcasting platform, any social media platform, that's where you can find us. And then, of course, go ahead, patreon.com/HopsGeekNews. That is how you can support the show. Everything that comes into the show goes right back into making a better production and all of that good stuff, going to Comic-Cons, all of that, doing fantastic interviews like the one we did with Brian O'Halloran and, the Clerks crew at FanX Salt Lake all that time ago, and I'm never going to let that go. But
hell no, it's our claim to fame.
Exactly. They are friends of the show now, man. They're all friends of the show. So that is Lauren on the end of the mic. Lauren, what is in your coffee this morning?
Pumpkin spice creamer.
Hell yeah, it is.
But yeah, I'm about. Yes, I got to go see Thomas Rhett in concert last night and had one too many highlights at the concert. So this coffee is very delicious right now.
Lauren,
I'm going to be going a little slow this morning, like slow pokes.
Yes.
Which is, that was the first comic you came. Oh, no, it was Zombie Date Night, I think was the first comic you came on to talk about.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. Slowpokes was the first one. And then I found you guys and I was like, oh, this will be perfect for Zombie Date Night to talk about it with some brews. Yes. I feel like my comics should be enjoyed while inebriated. So
see, I love, horror stuff like this. Like, so I love Zombie Date Night and Slowpokes. Yes. So Steve was on our show before to talk about Slowpokes, which is a horror comic based on, what if sloths killed people and they moved pretty fast? And then we had Zombie Date Night as well. And so, Steve, I'm going to let you take it away from here, man. Introduce yourself just in case one more time. And then let's get into Foulmouth.
Sure. My name is Steve Urena. I am a indie comic creator out of Connecticut. I write usually horror and ridiculous things. So this is my fifth comic going on Kickstarter, which is pretty wild. Just thinking about the journey that it's been since pandemic and to now. And my new comic is called Foulmouth, and it's about a demon-possessed superhero who gets her powers from cursing.
I love that. As a mother whose kids don't listen until I scream, I really love that.
Yes. Also, as a parent whose kids won't listen until you actually drop a cuss word at them, and then it's like, Dad's actually mad. I can appreciate this pretty well. And so you always come up with some really cool ideas, like, again, the killer sloths, the zombies on date night, just things of that nature. And so how did you come up with this idea?
So Foulmouth, it was right after Zombie Date Night finished up. It was the pandemic. I was taking, just going on walks for things, just to get exercise. And I started thinking about, I was like, all right, what's something I need to work on next? What's my next project? What's something that I can do that the big two can't do? And I was like, well, something with cursing would be kind of funny. But I was like, well, I can't just do, cursing, just like shit and fuck for 20 pages. I can't just do that. So I was like, I started thinking about it. And I was like, well, what if there's a superhero who can get her power from cursing? And I was like, well, what if it's a demon that possesses her? And then that came. And then as a big fan of Green Lantern and Venom, I was like, well, she can be a superhero, but the more creative her cursing gets, the more it can be animated on the page. So if she called somebody like a shit sandwich, the shit sandwich will appear and help her fight. And I was like, that's amazing visually. That's fun. That's something that'll make me stand out. And it's something that I'm like, I don't think this has been done before.
I don't think so either. That's amazing.
It really is such a clever idea. So how did you bring any returning artists? How did you gather your team for this?
So for all my comics, I usually go through my school of comics experience run by Andy Schmidt and Paul Aller. They do a great job of teaching people who want to get involved in comics. So if you ever wanted to break into comics, whether it's by art or writing or any lettering, whatever it is, they have a class for you. But they also have a program, a creative services program, where you can take your script, give it to them. They will find, artists in their stable that, hey, this will work for you. So I've had a good relationship with those guys for several years now. So when I gave them Foulmouth, I'm like, all right, let's see who you got. And Sarah Davidson stood out to me, and I was like, this style is perfect for this because it's cartoony, it's fun, it's got a lot of heart to it, and at the same time, in the serious moments, you could still have that in there. And this kind of looks like my favorite things growing up were the like animated Spider-Man series and like the Batman animated series. And this kind of looks like a Saturday morning cartoon. So I always love that. And she did a very great job of putting this together and helping me bring Foulmouth to life.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Looking at some of the pages, it's got that really fun. It pops out to you, the art, the colors. It's got a really cool vibe to it. And so your hero, hero of the story is Faye Flick. How did you come up with the hero? What kind of went into the mind of creating this character?
So I love to put things from my life into my comics. So and she might not appreciate this, but my girlfriend is definitely inspiration for this character. When I was thinking about the Foulmouth superhero concept and the character, I was like, well, I love horror. I love going into that space, of course. But I think a lot of comic creators, not everybody, of course, but I think a lot of them were brought to comics based around by superheroes. So I think for me, I was like, I want to do something different. I want to go outside of the horror genre and try my hand at a superhero comic. So of course, Faye Flick comes from, the alliteration names like the Peter Parkers, the Clark Kents. And so Faye Flick is where the name came from. And then my girlfriend, she's a pre-K teacher, but when she's very sweet. My mom and my dad call her Snow White, but then when she comes home, she likes to curse a lot. So I'm like, this is
gotta get it out of her system.
Exactly. I mean, when you deal with kids all day, I completely understand.
Oh yeah.
But she definitely was the basis for the character. What I didn't realize was I just wrote down this character descriptions and then Sarah Davidson did her thing. I didn't give her a picture of her or anything like that. And it looks very similar to her. So I was like, well, I think that's a good sign and I'm going to roll with it. Originally, I was going to call this book Superfuck, but with like the and the Grawlix, you know what I mean? So it's the U and the C and the K were covered. So then it'd be like Super Flick technically. But there was a comic called Super Fuckers out there somewhere. So I'm like, all right, that's too close. I'll go Foulmouth, and that way it's easier on the search engine.
I like it too. That's a really clever name because obviously it's one that with the day and age, the search engine wise, you're out there typing in like super fuck or whatever, and then it just kind of next thing you know, you're getting banned from some website.
Yeah, God knows the browser history. So I'm kind of glad. I think Foulmouth works just as well. But
it's catchy too. Man.
Yeah,
it sounds like something that would be a TV show at that. Like I don't know. To me, it just seems like a really catchy cartoon name, like you'd see on Adult Swim or something like that.
It does. Yeah, I agree.
And I just also like that. In terms of cursing and language, like I curse every now and then, but I don't curse as much as some other people. But I love doing these interviews because like I'll do it clean. Like I think that's funnier. Like, do the interviews clean and like there's no curse words at all, but I'm just talking about my cursing superhero comic.
It does make it like you come in there and like there's zero F words. Right?
Yeah, just polite, like funnier, gentle. Yeah.
And then you open the comic and you're like, what the fuck?
Fuck? Yeah, what the fuck is
this? There is a panel that's really cool that it's just, she's sitting there and it's like a broken mirror and it's just a giant word fuck coming, into the mirror. And it's a panel like that, for instance, I think is just excellent to kind of dive into this story. And so you talked about how your girlfriend was unintentionally the inspiration. How did she take this? Was she like, well, you use me?
She loves it. She loves it. She's embraced it. She's all in on it. I may do a thing at some point where like I'll put a picture of her and the character side by side and see if we could find some similarities. But no, she's been very supportive. She also helped edited this comic too. She's been editing my comic since the beginning. At first, it started as just like, could you just read this and see if it sounds right? And then now we get onto the full on debates about the characters and like, it needs to be like this. And she's a pretty great editor for somebody who's never done it before. She's done a great job. She edited Zombie Date Night. She edited Slowpokes 2. So, people have liked the comic so far. So I can't leave what works, I guess.
Yeah.
I feel like she needs to dress up as the character and go to a con.
I think that will be the move when the time is right.
That would be amazing. And now, of course, is always, the on the other side of things, there's always a bad guy, right? So what can you tell us kind of about the adversity she's going to face in this comic book?
Sure. So in the comic, it's not just about cursing. Like, a lot of people just on the surface maybe think it's just that, but like it's more about finding your voice and finding out who you are as a person and how comfortable you are in your own skin. Because Faye Flick moves into Legend City, which is, her parents just got divorced. She moves in with her dad, and they live in Legend City. But in Legend City, there's superheroes. So, she's not used to this. She's come from a smaller town. And she's having a bad day. She starts off just like, oh man, like, what am I going to do? Like, this is my new life. And a superhero comes along and because he flies by, like, all the wind hits her and knocks her over. Right. So, he kind of becomes the villain because there's two demons. So there's her demon sidekick, Arinu, and then there's another one named Lagaya, and they split off. And they kind of, the one demon goes into her, the other demon goes into the superhero. And he, during the comic, he kind of mansplains her, and he kind of is like, oh, I know what I'm talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just a young girl, that type of thing. And so she has to use her curse words to kind of overcome that and, kind of put this guy in his place.
That's really clever. Most of the time, because a lot of people, like, it can be when doing superheroes, there's a lot of, oh, it's just another factory machine, so to speak, when it comes to superheroes. Whereas this concept, first of all, like, a superhero gets her powers from cursing, and then, like,
a demon.
Yeah, you have a demon.
Those are both, unique.
Yeah, it's a really clever. That's one thing I really love about your comic books is it's something that you quite haven't seen before. And you, like, we did Ex Machina, where Santa Claus was out there fighting, robot elves and, slowpokes and zombie date night. And then this one is just another one that's just off, not even off the wall. I see a lot of inspirations. Like, I know you mentioned Green Lantern, but to me, yes, even I'm getting like Blue Beetle, so to speak, too, come into the city, and then the demon that kind of goes into. So how did you create the demons? What kind of went into, hey, this is what I'm going to do demon wise?
I just thought about, if there is brother demons that are brothers, right? Kind of like Cain and Abel. Well, I guess Cain and Undertaker, right?
Yes.
Yes. But kind of like brothers that are demons, and like they kind of they're evil, but they're brothers. But at the same time, it's more because the one demon kind of goes around what the other brother says, and it's like, you know what, this got us into trouble. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I want to move on and maybe try something else. So when he goes into Foulmouth, he's like, I can have a kind of a new lease on life. I could still be a demon, but I could still have fun and eat pizza and have a ball. So, but definitely the inspirations of definitely Venom, definitely a lot of possession movies and things like that. Because listen, getting possessed by a demon isn't fun, but in this, like, she's their best friend. They become friends. So it's a lot of Calvin and Hobbes too, I'd say, or like that type of like back and forth. Like, oh man, I got this demon inside of me, but we're gonna do the best thing possible. And also I think Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur as well.
Oh yeah, good pool. I definitely agree as far as like you. It's a different take on the demon possession, because most of the time when somebody's being possessed by a demon, you get something like The Exorcist.
Yeah.
From the horror. Whereas this, it's like, no, we're best friends. It's abnormal, but it kind of works and they mesh. And it's a tale of, hey, they both kind of getting new leases on life.
Yeah. New leases on life, friendship, and just, we want to be ourselves, and we found our people. We found our people to connect and have fun.
Absolutely.
I always love when certain types of villains that are always vilified and always evil, and you get a little bit of humanity in there. Like, I always love humanizing, cliche villains. So I think that's pretty cool. And obviously with everybody knows I'm a big Supernatural fan, so I love a good demon possession.
Same.
That's right. Demon, can't go wrong with that.
So Steve, what can you tell us about your Kickstarter campaign? I know you guys, it's close to the end and you guys are getting really, really close. So what are some things that are going into the building this Kickstarter campaign?
So for this Kickstarter is a little bit different. So this has definitely been my hardest Kickstarter to date. So I feel like horror sells a lot. Like horror sells like off the gate, right at the gate. So like with Slowpokes, I only was like, oh, I just want to make my money back. Fine, $2,000, and it made close to 10. And then Zombie Date Night, was like, I think $6,000, something like that. It was like each one has been like crazy depending on what it was. And then like Ex Machina was a little bit smaller, and we anticipated that because it was Christmas and like we were not sure like who will get that. And then Slowpoke did okay, but this one has sorry, my cat is trying to enter the chat here, but
it's not the first cat we've had.
I know. But with Foulmouth, the Kickstarter, it's definitely been tough. I think there's a lot of great projects on Kickstarter right now that are, of course, they're excellent. They're awesome to see, and there's a lot of great horror projects, a lot of different things. And with superheroes, I feel like there's burnout, because you'll see on Kickstarter that there are superhero comics, and for every great superhero comic, there's a knockoff one where it's like, hey, here's my version of, Spider-Man, or my version of this. And some people are not going to gravitate to that. So for this one has then been a little bit tougher to sell, and it's been a longer campaign, but we got 4 days left, which is very cutting it close. We are almost funded. I think we're at 85%, 86%. But this time around, we got a cursing is my superpower t-shirts. We got bumper stickers. We got posters. We got podcasts. We got just a little bit of everything to wet your beak when it comes to Foulmouth. I did think about doing masks for this, but I in terms of production, I feel like that will take some time, and I want to kind of get the character out there. Yeah. But definitely, if you're if cursing is your superpower, there's a shirt, and definitely if you're on the highway and you're giving people middle fingers, there's the cursing is my superpower.
I do love that. Then, poster wise, like you mentioned, Sarah, there's one that's really cool. It's one of the Foulmouth covers that Sarah did a really cool cover of. Yes. You have Faye on there, posed up with, you got a fucking problem, and the demon eating a slice of pizza. So like the artwork on this alone, folks, is incredible. Like I said, it's very vibrant, very colorful, but also just really well drawn. And also this story is really amazing. And I know we got 4 days left. This is one that I'm going to back personally. I'm going through the process. I'm backing right now. Going to get me one of a $5 pledge so I can get that physical copy. And I would really hope you guys do too, because like I mentioned already, you do such cool ideas that I would hate for people to sleep on this, because all of your stories I know what I'm getting at this point with you. Really good stuff. And that's
Thank you. I appreciate
one thing
that.
We believe in, and we wouldn't back something that we wouldn't believe in. So man, it's incredible.
And I feel like you add little details too, like with the zombie date night with the person that said was a ho ho ho, now I have a machine gun. Like, it's so much fun to look at that. And how does that, as a last question, I know we're starting to wrap up. Sure. But when you do the art, like, do you tell the person, like, I want somebody to be wearing a Die Hard t-shirt in the background? Like, that's all in the script?
Yes, I'll do full script. And I've been very lucky to find a lot of great artists who don't really like question anything. They're just like, all right, let's do it. Cause I trust them. I want them to do their own thing. I want them to show their full blown, style. But I'll always make sure to have those little details in there. And it's also just to amuse myself, because at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't know who's going to read this, but I know that I'll enjoy it. And as long as if I enjoy it, or my girlfriend enjoys it, or friends of mine enjoy it, then at least I'll be okay, and I'll be able to at least laugh at it. I mean, I think in terms of creating for other creators who may be listening to this, just create what you want to create, because at the end of the day, you're the audience. You're who you want to create for. And if you think it's great, and if it's an idea that you're excited about, I think other people will be excited too. You just got to find your people.
Oh, without a doubt. That's a really, really well said phrase. Now, do you have any upcoming appearances at any Comic-Cons, or where can people see you or find you at?
So you can find me. For those who want to follow me on socials, you can find me anywhere at the Steve Urena. Social media is really crazy right now. I think that's been hurting a lot of Kickstarters as well, just because on Twitter, it's just hard to reach people. Like I used to reach people a lot easier before, and now it's just like, it feels like an echo chamber. It feels like you're just yelling into the void. And then like some people, and I've been so grateful to have so many people in the comics just help, and we're all helping each other. It's like, hey, we got a Kickstarter. Even just posting and telling people about it, that helps that algorithm. That helps us beat the the social media overlords or whatever.
Right.
But it's a weird space right now, and but you can find me there. And then in terms of Comic-Cons, I am planning, hopefully by next year, to be doing some cons. There is a possibility that I may be doing New York Comic-Con this year, but I just got to just figure out the schedule. But yeah, at first I was a little bit worried. I mean, the pandemic was definitely part of it. But now that we're kind of in a better place, I'm like, all right, I got to figure out how to do some cons and figure this out and start spreading the word about these comics and start building more of a relationship with people. And just, I think I have enough now to, put on the table. It's like, oh, if you don't like this, maybe you'll like this. If you like this, maybe you'll like this. But I'm excited. I'm excited to talk with people, see who likes my comics, who doesn't. If anybody's coming for me, I have no idea. But I'm excited, and we're trying to grow. I'm also thinking about doing. I'm definitely going to do it at some point. Just the site, because I'm so tired of, and again, some places are great, some places are not. But I'm tired of publishers taking from creators. I'm tired of stores taking from creators. The digital spaces where they're like, oh yeah, you can put your book on here, but we'll take 50%. Like, I'm not doing that. No, I would rather just put a site, put my stuff up there. I will gladly pack it up for you and mail it out and make sure it gets to its destination. I'll print the comics, but that way it's more, me to you than, trying to algorithms and taking money away from people. Like, it's just any amount of money that I make from comics will go towards comics. That is my motto. That is what I'm going to do. It's worked so far, and I'm going to continue with that until the wheels fall off.
100%. Yeah. I mean, it's already hard enough in the realm of comic books out there. And so we believe 100% in what you're doing, and hopefully anybody listen to this, or even out there in the echo chambers of social media, because there's so many sites out there. It's not become one of those things. Just do what you got to do. And so if you're sleeping on Steve, sleeping on his comic books, hopefully you kind of start to wake up, because again, like we've already mentioned, I can't talk enough about how great of a writer he is. And he always has a really good comic book out. So people, do not hesitate to support this and support any indie, whatever it is, whether it's an indie film, indie movie, a local beer business, whatever it is. Yeah. Like indie beer. Go out there. Now is the time to support this, because it is. This
is a time for creators. Like, I feel like there's so much more to choose from in all spaces, like in TV, film, movie, whatever. Just people are making it themselves, and that's an awesome thing. Another thing about Foul Mouth is it's kind of like a challenge as well, because I jumped into a different genre, because like the horror space. Yeah. I actually talked to so another driving force of why Foul Mouth came to be. I took a class with a very famous comic creator. I'm not going to say who it is, and I asked them. I was like, hey, what advice do you have for somebody trying to jump from a different genre? Like, I've done okay in the horror space, like, moving into a different genre. And he told me to stay in my lane. And I was like, you know what? I think that's bad. I don't think he meant it to be mean. I think it was more of like, hey, if you're doing great, continue that by like, keep it up. Right. Like, I think that's what he meant. But I just think creators can't thrive like that. You gotta know how, you don't know how comfortable you are until you're uncomfortable. So you got to move into different places and figure it out. Cause like, imagine like Jordan Peele, right? Jordan Peele created Get Out, which is one of the best horror movies of all time, but he was a comedian. And I'm sure people told him, horror, what are you going to do horror for? Like, what are you going to do that? Like, I just think so Foul Mouth was definitely like a challenge, but I think we're about to make that funding, and I think we're going to cross past that finish line.
I would say your horror was always still comical, and so this sounds comical as well. So to me, I feel like it's consistent with your art or your writing.
Not for nothing, but if you get too comfortable in one space, then I feel like at that point you can become bored with it, and from there,
and not be as creative.
Yeah, it's always good to step out of your comfort zone. I fully agree. Like, they may not have been coming from a bad place, but you got to get out of your comfort zone once in a while. You got to do these things, take these risks. Life is far too short. If you want to create something, just create it. Just do it. Take that chance. If it fails, it fails. But you never know unless you absolutely try.
And there's to me, there's no such thing as failing. It's just learning. Because
do or do not.
Because like, if what's really failure? Like, failure is what you make it. Like, failure and success as well. So it's two sides of the same coin. But if you're creating something like you guys are creating this podcast, I'm sure in the beginning you're like, oh, I don't know if this is going to be a thing. And look where we are a few years later, and you have
Anytime
a fan.
Anybody even listens to us, it's like, wait, what? Really?
And you guys run a great show, and you guys have great chemistry together. So it's just awesome to see. So if you're creating, keep creating.
Right on. Well, Lauren, do you have any final thoughts before we wrap this bad boy up?
I don't, but I'm jumping on the Kickstarter too, because I've got all your comics and I've loved all of them. And now I have a little shelf of all our guests, and I love having the comics in my hand to say we interviewed this person. So
same. I got a nice little comic.
I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate anybody for backing, anybody who supports, because I'm just a guy. Like, I'm just a regular person, like, and with crazy ideas, and people are like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah. I want to see it.
Yeah, they're fun ideas.
It is. So, Steve, we appreciate you taking the time to share this with us. Everybody out there, the link for this Kickstarter is in the bio of this episode. Do it now. Let's get them across. And as always, thanks for hanging out with us, man, on this wonderful morning. And we'll chat with you soon. Anytime you have, this is the place to be. Anytime you have a new campaign going.
This is the place to be. Now I'm going to make sure I tell people that, especially like on social media, it's like, hey, if you're a comic creator and you want a great show that asks great questions and has good vibes, this is the one.
We appreciate.
And Matt asked a lot of good questions today. I did not.
Oh, you guys are great. That's why I keep coming back.
Awesome.
Thanks. Well, everybody, we will see you guys next week. Go out there, back this Kickstarter, back whatever it is. Go create that thing, and we'll see you guys next time. Cheers, everybody.